Welcome to Movie Baiters with the Farx brother. The other brother is here, Kirk, but my kids hid my shotgun mic somewhere in the house, and I am embarrassed to say I don't know where it is. This week, we're going to be interviewing Mick Lynch, but we have side guests because you phoned a friend. So.
I did. Oh, you did? I phoned two friends.
Yeah, and I'm impressed, Ray, that you orchestrated this to some degree.
I'm impressed that I have two friends.
Ladies first, would you like to introduce yourself first, Joe?
My name is Jolahn. I'm Mick's partner in crime. And he's invited me along, and now I'm on this podcast.
Please don't admit to any crimes. On a previous episode, we had someone admit to participating in adultery, and and
they're in jail now.
Well, adultery is not illegal, actually, as has been made very clear in the halls of Congress lately. Who else do we have on the...
I'm coming back. This is Nick Palodichuk.
Thank you, Nick, for being here.
No problem.
I want to be explicit that people should go listen to your St. Paul Filmcast interview.
Oh, yes, thank you.
With Mick, except for the part where you guys talk about me. I was angry.
Did we talk some shit about Kyle?
No, the opposite. Yes,
We didn't go far enough.
Yes, you did not go far enough. But I used that to come up with my interview questions for young. I got to get this out now. I've been calling you Michelob Lynch in my head for a little while.
You can keep it up.
Okay, yeah, because I called you Michelob Lynch Ultra and then Michelob Lynch Light, depending on how I felt. It wasn't a positive or negative. It was more like, which one is the lighter beer? Are they both light beers? I'm looking at Nick.
Ultra light.
How much am I bringing?
Yes. How much are you bringing to the table? You started by composing background music for your D&D sessions. Please contrast foreground and background music. I'm hitting you with a banger up front.
That is a very good question, and there's kind of you can kind of broaden that out too if you want to talk about, like, lately I've been doing video game music has been like my main work lately because I'm on kind of a long-term job doing the music for a really cool game called Give Up the Ghosts, which is a cool kind of narrative, very spooky kind of outlandish fantasy adventure game, and it's been cool doing the music for that and comparing that to doing movie music. When you're talking about background and foreground, that's even an added layer because you have background and foreground music where if you have foreground music, it's music like in like a movie like we are going to be talking about soon, where you have music that is definitely the focal point of what is happening in the film at that moment. And then in the film score, you have kind of something that is marrying a lot of different ways that music can be, important in storytelling. But it's been really interesting to do video game music too, as a comparison of kind of background and foreground music, because that, you're working with a lot of loops and kind of creating more of a background atmosphere and an energy than kind of enhancing the exact experience that's happening on the screen.
And where do you find this video? Where will this video game be? Like what platforms?
I think it's coming at least first to just to PC and computer platforms like Steam and digital marketplaces. But it's going to be, I think, a year or two before we're really pushing that. Sure. I've been working on it for a couple months now, and I'm going to be working on it for a while. But I also, it's nice because I'm scoring it as they develop it, and so that gives me plenty of breaks to do other projects like short films and stuff, so I can keep up that side of things too.
Joe, do you play video games?
I play Animal Crossing.
That's a video game, right?
Yeah.
I'm old and have seen it. Could you explain it to me? Nick, do you know how to play Animal Crossing?
My wife would.
Okay.
It's just a cute little game. You're in a town, you acquire villagers.
What?
Yeah.
It is kind of work, isn't it?
Yeah, you just do work, basically. You're working for a raccoon, and he gives you a house, and you're in debt. So, you're
I did not know what I was getting into.
Like currently, I'm in about 200,000 bells of debt.
Bells is the money.
Bells is money.
Bells are their money.
And the bells are their money.
Yeah.
So I'm 200,000 bells in debt currently, and
Yeah.
I have to pay back this raccoon. So I work to pay back the raccoon. But it's a very calming game. Like you look at that part.
Paying
but
off your debt is calming. You know?
Animals.
But the game itself is very cute, and it's just like a little island, and you can shake trees and apples fall. I don't know.
Is there music in the game?
There's
Yes, there
really
is.
good music
I see
in-
where this is going.
Animal
Yes.
Do you listen to the game music or do you listen to other music while you play the game?
I listen to the game music, and even on my own time, I listen to playlists of the game music, but just by itself.
What other music are you two? What music are you listening to together as a couple? Can I call you guys a couple?
Yes.
What? Right? You're like 18 or something. I don't even know.
We're both 19.
Yeah, we're both
Okay. Cool.
Now I do feel like I'm in a Todd Hayes movie.
Well, I just need to know what's going on.
It's been almost 3 years. It's
Yes. We've been together for a while now.
Okay.
We listen to, both of us play music. She plays music too. In fact, we've been working on some music together that we're going to talk about at some point.
Talk about it now.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we?
Sure.
We are working right now, me and Joe and two
Joe
of
and
our...
I.
What?
Grammar. He caught
God
you there.
damn it!
He caught you.
Stay edgy on this.
Miss Jolahn and I are currently working on music
Together.
together. We are working on a band right now that we've put together with our friends, and we're working on recording an EP right now.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
What type of music?
Well,
It's like power pop.
yeah, it's like kind of Beatlesy, like if you've ever heard like Jellyfish or like Big Star or like, it's like Cardigans, the kind of Beatlesy power pop. Yeah, that type of
Nice.
stuff.
So it's got electronics in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually just bought an analog synth that I've been using.
Oh,
it's really fun.
How does that work? Isn't a synth like specifically not a? Explain the difference between an analog and a. I can't even think of the right word.
I don't know the difference.
Digital would be the
Thank you.
the inverse. So
It's the old fashioned.
yes, analog synthesizers came before we had like what we would consider like real like digital interface technology. Analog synthesizers were coming out kind of right like towards the end of like the Beatles days, like end of the 60s was when they were starting to be like coming out and used in pop music. I know the difference in like the interface of one, but I'm not actually 100% sure on the difference of the, literal wires in there and stuff. But, an analog synth is like a big old thing that you're going to see.
Gaudy,
like it's a
yeah.
physical big object that like
With knobs.
a lot of knobs. Yeah. In fact, a lot of analog synthesizers are just knobs.
Yeah.
Or purely sort of knob-based instruments.
So are you just like twisting knobs at your concerts, or what are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Joe? What do you sing? Do you play an instrument
I
or both?
play bass in our
Sweet.
band. Outside of that, I've been a musician for like 10 years.
Cool.
I love music. It's my everything. So I love being in the band. But yeah, I play bass and sing backups. Mick is singing lead currently. We're thinking about like changing it up. Who's lead?
Yeah,
but
everybody else except for me is like really busy in like school and stuff.
and work.
So
Oh.
I've been kind of leading the charge, but I'm hoping to get her and our other bandmates who are old friends of ours to kind of.
Their names are Aiden and David.
I was wondering.
They're
Yeah.
gonna be mad
So
at
there's
us.
4 people in the band. 4 of
Yes.
you, kind of like the Beatles were 4 people.
Basically, we're the Beatles.
There's a lot
We are the
exactly
Beatles.
in common between us and the Beatles, just as far as kind of innovation and cultural Just
the
yeah.
world, I think we're gonna have the same effect.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, this is a journalism podcast, so I love breaking big stories like this.
This is good, yeah.
I'm trying to show Nick how to do it, even though he's been in the game way longer than me, and that's a
So
way
Nick,
bigger
this is
fault.
kind of
Yeah, this is how you do it. Right, yeah. Get the inside scoops.
finally.
When is it best not to have music in a movie? There will be wild pivots throughout the show, Joe. I'm just
Oh, we're
throwing
good.
that in.
I have a short attention span, so
Sweet.
that's good.
When is it best not to have any music in a movie? I mean, I often, it's pretty rare that I will, usually that conclusion will have been come to by the time it reaches me. You know, like usually a lot of the times directors will be, not think super hard about exactly what music they'll want in every scene, but a lot of the times a director, or a producer and editor will really, really know where they don't want music, because they, if they're nice, they won't want me to be writing music that won't be used. So a lot of the time they'll think ahead and will come and say, like, right off the bat, I'm thinking no music in this scene. It's interesting. I have definitely, there have been a couple times where I have like gone to a director and asked for there not to be music in a scene, because the way that it works a lot of the time, and I talked about this on Nick's show as well, is that there'll be a spotting session first where I'll sit down with the person in charge and figure out where and what all the music is going to be, like all the timing of it, map all that out. So a lot of the time, it usually doesn't occur to me not to have music when I'm sitting down and watching a film, because I'm so in the space of like, I'm watching something without music and I'm trying to apply music to it in my head and figure out what to do, with the filmmaker. So it's hard to watch a film without music, and a lot of it feels very awkward because it's missing music. And it's hard to look at a scene and know for sure that it doesn't need music. So that's usually something that it takes a lot of kind of bouncing ideas back and forth before you figure out that a scene is best completely silent.
What were the steps that led to you saying, in this specific example, for as specific as you want to be, I don't think we should have music here?
I just wanted less money given to me, I think. No.
Wow.
Yeah, okay.
A
You're
lot
good
of
at business.
yeah, I am. I think that,
What if like it's too busy of a scene?
yeah, a lot of the time it's like based around how much tension is being conveyed is more lost by adding music to it than is gained. Like if this scene is working great already upon being handed to me without any, temp music or any music that I've written, if it already feels like it's working really well and I keep trying to write music to it and nothing is as effective as just the footage laid bare and just the sound of the film laid bare, that's kind of the point that it'll reach. Is usually I'll try to write something, and it's through trying to write something for it that I realize that a sequence works the best without music.
Right before we got on mic, Nick, you shared a movie from last year, May, December, and how music. I don't want to mansplain to you. You tell me what your.
No, it's a comedy point, and it won't be emphasized unless you put music in it. When Todd Haynes on May, December, when it's a lot of serious conversations happening in the kitchen, and it's just not registering to Julianne Moore's character, and she turns to the fridge and she just says, "We don't think I have enough hot dogs for this party," and it goes doom doom doom, and it's intentionally to make it soften the seriousness of it. And I think Todd Haynes intentionally put it to kind of lighten it up, but it's the music and the placement that makes it funny. And I don't think, right, and that's where you need it enhanced.
And that's a good point, talking about comedy specifically, because
Right.
that's a good piece of advice that I got a couple of years ago at a workshop that I did in LA, is that somebody said that when you're scoring a film, like if something in, like what you're talking about is interesting, because that's a moment that wouldn't have been funny, but the score lightened the tension for it, and it was useful for that. And there's kind of an interesting inverse to that, which is that if there's a moment that is supposed to be funny, you're supposed to do kind of as little to accentuate that as possible musically, because there's not really such thing as like funny music. Like there's not music that is going to make someone telling a joke funnier, unless it's like a song that fits well with that, like a licensed song or something. But there's not like
Right, like the Mel Brooks music is always serious.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
Blazing Saddles is like a legit Western song.
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
not funny.
exactly. And
And
think
Young
about,
Frankenstein is that eerie music.
Yeah, Monty Python is like.
Yeah, it's all that very, very, let's try to win an Oscar kind of music.
There's soundtrack examples I can think of where music is used humorously, like in Seth Rogen movies. But that's, hey, it's specifically in contrast to either the characters or what's going on in the plot, or super enhancing it. I'm thinking of It Ends. However, the Apocalypse movie, where at the end they're dancing with Backstreet Boys, I think it is.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's my
But again,
example.
well, I guess a better way to put it is there's no funny background music then. If you're talking about foreground and background music
Sure,
like
all
earlier.
comes back, right?
Full circle.
You went to LA for what was this? You went to for a school thing?
I went a couple of years ago there was a Berkeley workshop. Berkeley in Boston. Berkeley EE,
Not EY.
the music school.
Okay. Okay. Berkeley EE. I see.
Berkeley.
Yeah.
is, I take some classes there, just their online courses, and I went there. They're not in LA, but they hosted a workshop in LA a couple of years ago that was like for studying composers and stuff, and that was really fun.
And what else did you get out of that?
I met a couple of composers that I really respect, like Austin Wintory, who's mainly a game composer, and he's been a big role model of mine as an inspiration for composing for a while, and I got to just sit down and hang out with him for a while at that workshop, so that was really fun.
What is you said video games? What video games might people recognize that this guy's worked on?
He did the music for... You all right, Nick?
Yeah.
Good. He did the music for a very good game called Journey, and a game that you might have heard of called Assassin's Creed Syndicate. He did one of the Assassin's Creed games.
We should.
He's done a lot of cool stuff, and I have reached out to him a couple times for advice on stuff. And yeah, the whole composing community is super, super just like open to the fresh blood, because I'm only now starting to not be seen as the fresh blood, because...
It's a weird way to put it.
Yeah, that is a weird way to...
Very weird.
In my head, I call you young blood though sometimes, so that works. I can do that with all the guys that are enough younger than me that I'll call them that. So that's
Cool. Like Nick?
I call Nick Youngblood.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's why I brought him here to know. You brought him here
I wanted him to watch me and learn.
So how do you've invested in your craft, you've gone and traveled to learn. How do you structure your day, your week, your working sessions? Either day to day, badly?
Badly.
Yeah.
Why is that?
You have a chart.
I do. I structure the work itself pretty well when it comes to organizing the music I'm going to be writing, but as far as setting aside time to do specific things, I suck. I work completely from my home studio. Joe is nodding in agreement, and she's right. I work completely from my home studio, and so I'm just home all the time. It's good because it means that if I get an idea at a random point throughout the day, like a musical idea that I really like, I can just go start writing music. But I also, I'm kind of I like to hang out in my studio, so I'm kind of in my workspace all the time.
What are you playing video games in there?
Sometimes. Yeah.
You watch movies.
I host movie nights in there because it's it's like a film scoring, it's not just like a music studio. There's a big TV setup because it's for scoring.
Soundproofing in a big couch.
Yeah.
So you can watch something big and scary or very loud, and it doesn't bother other residents of where you live. Oh
no, I can't. No, I do. My parents are there still, so yeah, it does. But
you'll kick them out eventually. Don't worry.
I will.
Describe to me the feng. Okay, so you've given me some of the feng shui, Joe. What else should I know about this? This studio where Mick Lynch hangs out and does his ultra video game and movie watching.
And light movie watching.
It's awesome. There's some books in there.
You got a little library going on?
Yeah, it's mainly
some
book-based.
Edgar Allan Poe in there. He loves the spooky stuff.
do.
And a lot of really, I don't even know the word, but like he has a lot of instruments of all different backgrounds. And how would you describe that?
I like
There's just a lot.
weird, either like from very distant cultures or like rare, not like expensive rare, I don't have any money, but like I just like unusual and kind of archaic instruments, and I like using them to just
What's the last
noodle
one you
around.
acquired? Yeah.
Last one I acquired is I actually picked one up on Christmas Day. I bought and picked up it's an Arabic oud lute, so it's one of those big lutes with like a bowl back to it.
Sure.
And I'm just kind of chipping away at figuring out how to write anything on that.
Is it like playing a guitar?
Little bit, kind of.
Your bass player partner said no.
No, she's shaking her. No, usually like there's all different, amounts of strings and tunings and stuff, so it's all pretty wildly different. I have to start pretty fresh each time I pick one up.
And you play, so I know you play piano. Mm-hmm. You play strings as well?
Yeah,
And brass?
a little bit.
Percussion? What do you do from the percussion?
I play a little bit of, not on the podcast.
What?
I don't want to sound like she just said everything, and I
You
don't.
play a lot.
That's yeah. I watch a little bit of everything. It's not the same thing as being able to play it, but
That's really true, Kyle.
thank you.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, that's what people come on the podcast to say is about how beautiful I am.
I play a little bit of every. I could pick up an instrument of most types and figure out a simple. I could write a simple melody on most instruments, but I couldn't perform on most instruments.
What's writing a simple melody, like just composing some notes that sound okay together?
Yeah.
And then but you're saying you wouldn't go up with your band and play this instrument like you said it was an oud? that you just got?
No, and I even like, it depends, but like with some as weird as the oud, like as new to me as that, like I would want to, even like on a score, I would want to hire someone to record, to play it.
Oh, so you sometimes subcontract?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I've been subcontracting a good amount lately, just because I have a cellist that I've been consistently contracting for this game that I'm doing.
Okay, what's the mood that a cellist brings to the table?
I mean, in this particular case, we're kind of playing around with some really. I'm under NDA for this.
Oh,
well, I'm under NDA for sharing, like the music itself, but
Sure.
I can talk about the vibes of it.
the logistics.
Yeah, you look scared.
I'm vibing.
Yeah, so the cello on that one, I've been using. I wrote a lot for the cello when I was just was first picked up by these guys for this game. I'm using it for this one because you can have a cellist play really, really far down close to the bridge, which is like where the strings end, basically. If you have a cellist play super far down on there, it can create this super, super otherworldly kind of wailing sound. And this game is set in a really cool kind of industrial, kind of gothic, almost steampunk at parts kind of setting. And so I really wanted something that sounded like, for the main melodic sound of it, I wanted it to sound very kind of buzzy and metallic and otherworldly. And I experimented for a while, and I found that I really liked this kind of unconventional playing technique on the cello. And so I've been working alongside my cellists. Alma Engebretsen is their name, and I have been working very closely with them to get a really cool otherworldly sound.
Okay. Nick, you play. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was done.
I do that on the pod. Nick, you play instruments, don't you?
I drummed. Yeah.
You're a percussion
Oh, I did
guy?
know that. Right, yeah.
So the band I was in, the music that you listen to in the show, that was our music. And
It's not over till it's over.
that's me drumming on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And yeah, there were five of us. There was me and the drummer, my friend Brian singing, Katie was keyboard singing, and then Nick was guitar, Susie was on bass. So
Do you still play?
no, the band's been gone since 2009.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So then I sold my drum set. It was a nice Yamaha oak custom drum set, which is great for live shows. but to record anything off of it is just aggravating.
I see.
That's why Yamahas are good for live. You don't want them in the studio. You want to have something else in the studio.
Got it.
We learned that the hard way.
Oh, no.
Trying to get a recording out of them, right?
Oh, you did a recording at some point in the
We
past?
did our demo track, those tracks, and it was just, it took months to get the right, because a slight adjustment on those Yamaha drums make it completely different. They're difficult to get a recording on. But live, they're fantastic. Yamahas are one of the best drums for anything live, which is a lot of times you see orchestra. Their percussions are always usually are Yamahas.
What did you have to adjust? I'm not that I understand.
The heads, the toms.
Oh.
Yeah. Unless you want to put a bottom on it, that would help.
The drums are just tough to record in general too.
No kidding.
Like we've been demoing stuff for our first recordings with our band, and the drums are the only thing that we are like completely holding off.
Those have always been the most difficult. I've been in a studio a few times, and drums are what take the longest to figure out. But also, like, the drummer we had was very picky. He needed it, which, to be fair, like, he wanted it to sound good. But yeah.
Was it Zach?
Yeah.
Was it our friend Zach?
Yeah.
What's funny is when my band for weddings is playing sometimes, the issue is like, how do we get the drums to be quieter? Like, just don't hit as hard, or put, you cut holes and stuff, and put...
Bring your 2/8 drumsticks. That's your...
Or your practice sticks.
The bass.
Put pillows in the bass drum. Yep.
Yeah.
Joe, you mentioned that Mick has Edgar Allan Poe, and obviously I saw all of your postings around the recent Nosferatu. Did you have a goth phase, or are you still in it?
It's like Victorian goth, like, special interest, I feel like, is what you have.
How special?
Pretty special.
Is she describing correctly your
No, I've kind of always been into... I had a big emo phase.
What?
I mean, I had a band that I was in that, before this one, that was called Little Disasters, and it was back when I was...
That sounds very emo.
It is. It was. And we made an album called Happy Ever After, and that was my emo phase. So if anyone wants to check out my emo phase, that was also at the point where... That was before I had done this vocal thing. Probably address if people are listening to this.
Oh, sure, yeah.
After his thing.
Explain to me.
Yeah, so...
in between shows, I see.
Oh, yeah.
Listeners at home...
They might not necessarily be at home. They're driving right now.
I'm really sorry for putting you in a box, listeners. I didn't mean it like that.
You can see now.
But what I was going to say is, if you go back and listen to Nick's recording, still clearly me, my voice sounds pretty different. Recently, my aunt, who is a speech therapist and a vocal coach, pulled me aside and said, like, hey, I think you might have, there's like a rare condition that can happen where some kind of develops weird with your vocal cords or something, and you kind of learn to use your vocal cords wrong and speak with, like, basically your falsetto range, like your singing falsetto. And I was like, I think I just have a high voice. And she was like, I don't know. And then I did like some exercises with her, and she was right. Now I have been going through a bunch of cool exercises and just kind of, it's been really cool for singing too at this band, but I had no idea that was a thing like that.
Learning to talk lower.
Or you could. Right, so you weren't unaware that you were at a different, like, register.
I mean, I was kind of aware that I could, like, speak more from my chest, I guess, but I always kind of just thought that was kind of how my voice developed, but it turns out that that's like a really rare speech disorder that people can develop.
What are the exercises that you do? Is it like running up the stairs in Philadelphia, or?
Yeah, and like I stand at the top of a big set of stairs and I kind of just like vibe there for a minute. I punch a big piece of meat.
Yeah.
No, it's mainly onto like singing exercises now, because I'm like pretty used to speaking with my speaking voice has been treated pretty well for that now, but I've been doing a lot of singing exercises lately. What's cool is that I've been singing. There are a bunch of exercises nowadays that are based around singing through a drinking straw. This is a real thing. That's like just holding it up to your mouth, and it like reduces the, like the air being pushed around.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so I guess it kind of trains you to use your voice healthier, because it like you can't like put as much pressure into your voice.
I love learning. We're learning podcasts.
This is a journalism and an education podcast, clearly.
Okay.
Those are two very different things.
No, journalism and education. I don't have an argument for that. I do relate because in phone sales, when not phone sex but phone sales, which I've done in my
Which you do by day.
which in my white collar 9 to 5, yep, I've done a lot of over the phone talking. And when they can't see you, if they don't know you're 23 and you lower your voice and talk to them, I didn't even realize I was doing it on the phone until a consultant pointed it out to people in the sales floor like 10 years ago. He's like, yeah, so-and-so and Kyle, they'll lower their voice even though they're the youngest guys in here when they're talking on the phone, so that no one realizes they're not talking to, and I think I'd learned that in college because I was doing some sort of like sales thing where I was converting people's payment systems, and they would call in and get the CFO, or not the CFO, the financial director of the university, and be upset that it wasn't the student they had been talking to over the phone. So I completely understand the value of what you're doing, except coming from a different place in my life, and I'm glad you're getting there. What's next? Like, what's your goal with this?
I mean, it's really been interesting because this has been kind of what pushed me to get this band going and to start singing again, because I had sung back in my emo phase, but I kind of moved away from that. But now that I had kind of reconnected with my voice in a way that felt very personal, I kind of just wanted to be using it again. And so I think just kind of, I'm just trying to push myself to be more comfortable as a singer and as a performer, because, that's something that I really like to do. So
Yeah, I get
cool.
that.
Trying to get to a good point with that.
How is software an instrument?
Nice transition.
Oh, there was no transition
Yeah.
there. It was just a
I
hard
know,
pivot.
that was
What did you- what?
That was a great.
It's a tool, right?
Well, you see, I think that the older folks might say, oh, well, all of the kids with their newfangled doohickeys using their computers to make music. He makes an interesting statement on your podcast from a year ago where he says, I'm referring to young Mick here, he says that I like to see software as my instrument, even though you're playing on a piano and that sort of thing. So why is it an instrument when you're using the software?
Well, it's interesting because it's almost less, a lot of what I do day to day is less of what I would consider to be writing music and more of what I would consider to be a very specific type of programming almost, like when you're working with software as a film composer specifically, there's so much that you're paying attention to that is based entirely around kind of timing and synchronization with, what you're scoring. And so it becomes this kind of, often it either works as like I will write a piece of music for a sequence in a film and then I will actually get it in software with the piece of film and kind of rework the structure of it to best sit with, whatever you're watching. Sometimes I write, specifically to the scene. Sometimes it's written more like to the script and then adapted to the scene almost, but
Feels like almost like you're assembling.
yeah, there's a lot of it that's assembling. It's it's a really like scoring even something as small as a short film, which is like most of what I've done. There's so many steps to it, and it is kind of an assembling process where I would say software is still kind of, that's the instrument that I feel the strongest making music on. And even with our stuff that we've been doing with our band, I have been doing like most of the work that I've been doing besides like singing and playing a little bit has been like I've just been doing a ton of editing on our demos and getting everything laid out, because that's where I feel like I have the most strength now, is like in the software and in the programming and in the kind of assembling, but I really want to get stronger as a performer, because I don't know, I've always liked being a performer, but I get anxious a lot of the time, and I want to kind of...
Performance anxiety is a real thing. They say that good writers adapt or borrow from others. Great writers steal outright. When you take from a score, can you give me a recent example, like something from the past year, where you've taken something from a score and used an element of it in something that you're creating?
Yeah, I did a film pretty recently. In fact, one of the most recent, I bet you know what I'm going to talk about here. I know
what you're about to say.
Let her say it then.
No, I don't know all of the words.
Okay.
You say it.
Okay. I did a film recently called The Combination, which was a Michael Greenberg film that was very cool. I'm very happy to have worked on, and now they're kind of trying to shop it around as a series. And the score, the kind of sound that we settled on for that score is super, super directly based on a couple of my favorite film scores of all time, which are the two, I think I talked about these on your podcast too.
Yeah.
Which are the two Sherlock Holmes films, which I love those soundtracks so much. And I was like, this film is really speaking to me as like something that we can go in this kind of direction where you're bringing like all these weird like Eastern European kind of folk instruments and like dulcimers and stuff.
Wait, what's a dulcimer? You did like a drum.
A dulcimer is basically, it's like a stringed instrument that sits on a flat plane and you play it with hammers. Okay. So it almost sounds like a mix between like a stringed instrument and like a bell type instrument. You can hear it a lot in like Celtic music, like the Irish hammer dulcimers.
Oh, not the Irish.
No, never mind that.
The Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes.
But the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes had a super cool...
These very choppy, almost feel like you're listening to his mind working.
Yeah, it was super like... There's a bunch of cool like mechanical percussive elements, and it's drawing from like... There's like accordions and crazy fiddles and stuff, and I just really love... I thought when I saw The Combination, or when I read the script for it, I was like, this is my excuse to like do something that I've always kind of wanted to try out, because it's one of my favorite scores. And so the process of kind of borrowing elements from that without it being boring and not original, you know, like I'm not really worried about...
That's the big sin, right? Musical score boring.
I'm not worried about stealing.
Well, like I said, great writers steal.
Yeah, but for me, like what I'm worried about is making it, is not doing anything interesting with what I'm stealing, you know? I tried to go a layer deeper into kind of what that sound was, and I worked with a violinist who is a friend of mine named Colleen Bersch on that, and she has a doctorate in some kind of Eastern European historical musical studies, and she came in and played fiddle on it and brought this incredible level of authenticity to it, because she plays... Yeah, were you there for the recording session for that? Yeah, you were. That was incredible. That recording session was unbelievable. Colleen is unbelievable, and then there were some like jazz segments on that score as well, and I brought in my friend Scott Anderson, who plays a lot of jazz clarinet, and so what really strengthened that score and elevated it beyond, you know, me borrowing from something that I really liked, was that I was really, really interested in bringing in musicians that I really wanted to hear play on this. And that's kind of a make or break part of the whole process, is finding musicians that, you know, if you have the budget and it's the type of project where you're going to
spend money,
be hiring musicians, you really want to connect to the ones that you find.
Someone recently was talking about a project they had developed with people that, you know, were good at what they were doing, but they weren't passionate, so you had to first hire based on passion. Nick, you're, I think, a better... you're more likely to know, because I don't know offhand. Does Guy Ritchie work with the same composer usually, or?
I would imagine so, right?
Yeah.
Usually directors stick with the same composers. Now the trend is the brothers and brothers do it, like
like Nathan Johnson and stuff, like
right. I just discovered the movie Red Rooms. The person who directed, his brother did all the scoring for the movie too. So,
And
yeah,
did you
it's
like
kind of the
Red
trend
Rooms?
of having a family member skewering music.
Yeah, Nathan Johnson did the music for the Knives Out and Glass Onion, and he's Ryan Johnson's, I think, his cousin or something.
Yeah.
Sweet. No, I mean, people like who they're familiar with. I was telling my wife I like when Kirk gets here first because I spend the most time with him, so I'm the most familiar with him. Again, I've got an idea where you and I sit next to each other for the next two segments. There's only two more questions left in this segment. What comic books are you reading right now, Joe and Mick? I mean, Nick, if you want to jump in with what you're reading right now, what they think. I know you're gonna.
Oh, I just picked up like a horror comic book, and I don't know if I'm getting the title right. Please, it's called Red Mother.
Red Mother.
Yeah, it's a horror comic book. Which I absolutely love. So
Wait,
yeah.
is there something you're embarrassed to tell us you're reading?
No, I don't read comics.
She doesn't read
books.
comics.
Oh no, neither does my wife. But for my children forcing them on her, then me initially, introducing them to.
I haven't
these
forced
things.
any comics on you lately.
Oh, you forced comics on your partner?
I haven't forced anything on
You've
my partner,
suggested.
Kyle.
Oh, that's. You're damn right.
Real.
Mick Lynch Ultra.
No. I don't think I forced comics specifically on you. I forced movies on you, definitely.
Yeah.
We all do that.
Yeah.
I'm not a movie person, unfortunately.
What do you mean by that?
Like,
Not yet.
my attention span, I'm more of a series, like a TV show person.
Modular.
Yeah. But it's weird because I can sit down for 6 hours and watch a TV show.
Yeah.
But if a movie is more than like an hour and a half, I'm like, why is it so long?
Oh.
So I'm that type of person. I'm sorry to everyone out there and to all of you.
The movie people will have heard us talking about, you saw it twice and it's over 2 hours long.
Yeah.
It's true. I really like that one.
That's good.
So the new question I started asking in the interview segment, Nick.
Yeah.
Nick's done the interview segment before, and
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
having you here as like Andy Richter to my brown-haired Conan.
Could be. Sometimes Andy's actually
Like
funnier than
Hannibal
Conan.
Buress to Eric Andre, kind of.
Ooh, Hannibal, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, that made me think of something. Remember when Hannibal Buress in like 2014 was the guy who was like outing Cosby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. It started the whole.
Yeah, it was Hannibal.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
I'm aware. Wait, Nick, you didn't say any comics that you're reading or have read recently.
I picked up Batman Ego recently, which is
Ooh.
a short Batman.
I own that.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites now, and I really love. I love just the super psychological, grounded Batman stories. Have been what I've been into lately.
Okay.
Been reading Year One a lot.
Got that for my brother-in-law for Christmas.
That's
Read it, Jake.
probably my favorite Batman comic. Read it, Drake.
Thank you.
Read it, Jake.
So the question I ask them now is who else we should have on the podcast that who's in your sphere of influence that when you send them this episode, they're going to hear their name at the end and be like, oh, I got to go on Movie Baiters with the Farx brothers, and they'll have two mics, one for Kirk and one for Kyle, and they won't screw this up like Kyle did today.
I love that this show is called Movie Baiters.
BATERS. People know because they've selected this on their app, but
True.
I feel like I have to start saying that when people announce us. It's like, just so we're clear, not bait like for fish. The other kind.
Oh my God.
The better kind.
So with that in mind, what do you suggest?
Well, now that I've said that, I don't know if I want to suggest her, but I have a dear friend named Gael Palin who works locally, and is both a filmmaker and an actress, and she's done a lot of cool films recently. She was in The Combination, which I just talked about, and I was just hanging out with her a couple days ago and catching up, so I'm going to suggest her. Her name is Gael Palin.
I was in a movie with Gael.
When were you in a movie with Gael?
It was technically it's a satire, a political satire of the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Did you ever see it?
Foot.
Yeah, the foot.
Foot was great.
What's politically controversial about the Ninja Turtles?
No, it was.
Is it pro or
The
anti?
movie is fun. It's fun. It was a great movie.
The point is about vigilantism and people joining groups, and how sometimes you might join a group that you shouldn't join, and then you'd have to like recognize that and get out of it.
Is it about someone who accidentally joins the Foot Clan?
Casey Jones.
Casey Jones.
I grew my hair out during COVID.
to play Casey Jones.
and then wore a foot mask for most of it, so you just see my hair and I have my face covered. I liked that.
I loved that movie.
Thank you.
that.
I hate when people come on the show and compliment me. Well, thank you guys. We're gonna move into the.
Fuck off, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you. For
Yeah.
fuck's sake.
Someone had to.
I'm gonna thank you for being on the show, even though we're about to record the next 2 segments, because in chronologically, people will hear this last. But
This is the only one I'm going to listen to because I assume this will have the most of my own voice as well.
No, I hope to have a lot of your voice in the next one because
Nope.
I wanted you on specifically because you're a young man, you do music, and you're in Minnesota. How does that relate to Bob Dylan in this movie?
I'm also, you know that I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan, right?
I did not.
Okay, well,
He
that's
is.
great.
Oh, great. Okay, well let's get to the next one.
I'll see you next time.